You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest has become the leader of Sinn Féin since 2018 and became the leader of the opposition in 2020.
Mary Lou McDonald joins us this morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
Mary Lou. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you so much. We've seen you a bit over the past year, and an awful lot has happened in your private life.
Yes.
And between you, like you've had a hysterectomy, and then during the summer, your father, who you had quite a complicated relationship with, he passed away. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. You're right. I've had a very eventful and a very tough year or so. And sometimes that just happens in life, right? You get, one thing happens and then another thing happens. So yeah, we buried my father 5 weeks ago. So anybody who has lost their dad knows it's a very hard thing. It's a complete game changer. I loved my dad. But yeah, we had a complicated relationship. He was a complicated person. My parents had been separated for most of my life. So it's a kind of a strange thing. You lose your father, so you have the grief of that, but it's not a straightforward grief, if that makes sense to you. So yeah, as a family, we're dealing with that. And the great thing is, though, that you come at these things together with your family, with your friends, and it's a great thing about Irish people that you don't ever have these experiences on your own. Yeah. You always have people to lean on, and I've leaned on my people during that.
Yeah.
Having to deal with that and the relentless nature of politics must be difficult, and having to move on to the next day when I'm sure you are grieving because your father is such an important member, of growing up, your childhood. You also were on with us last September, I think it was, after having a recent hysterectomy, which must have a huge impact on yourself personally. But unbeknownst to us at the time, your husband, Martin, had become seriously ill.
Yeah, and I'm very conscious that for so many people in their lives, you're going along, you're doing your work, you're managing things, and then life just throws curveballs at you. And in my case, several of them happened at one time. And yeah, Martin, I've spoken to you before, spoken publicly about my own hysterectomy, and thank God I had recovered really well from that. And I thought, great, here we go.
Yeah.
We went on a short family break. And literally, between packing the case to come home and arriving at the airport, Martin got really, really sick. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was serious because he's the type of man, Irish man, who, it wouldn't matter what he was doing. Sure, I'm grand. Yeah. Everything's grand. Yeah. But he wasn't okay. And long story short, we had to get him to an urgence, the closest place, which was in Biarritz. There was actually a lovely woman who came to our assistance in the airport. I never got her name, but she was a nurse. She was an Irish woman, but she was travelling, I think, to London. Yeah. And she came and agreed with me that this was not good. He couldn't get on the flight. So he went to the hospital. They saved his life. His bowel had burst. So he went through very serious surgery. And in the course of that, they found a tumour and he got a cancer diagnosis. So I ended up spending several weeks in the Basque Country in France with him in intensive care and hospital and all of the thing of getting him home and the worry, would I get him home? So it was one of those moments in life where literally everything got turned upside down. And to be honest with you, I was in talking with ye that time about my own kind of health issues. And at that stage, my actual concern was for him. I hadn't spoken about it. I haven't spoken about it really publicly at all because I was still trying to process, what does this mean? How serious is this? Will he recover? And your viewers will know, anybody knows when a cancer diagnosis is just a game changer for the individual, but also for the family. And that was the case for our family. And I'm talking about it now because he's one of the very lucky ones in that we have come to the end game. We see the light. We're walking into the light at the end of the tunnel, and his prognosis now is good. thank God. And for that, I am eternally grateful.
Because you got him home a few weeks later, he started treatment for colorectal cancer. So he's been going through, I'm assuming, the radiation, the chemotherapy,
the whole nine yards.
The whole shebang going on in the background. How is he?
He's good.
Is he?
He's actually he had a procedure this week, so I think he's probably watching. He's in hospital at the moment, but he's good.
We're big in hospital.
You're big in hospital, so say hello to him. You'll be delighted. So he's good. He's at the end of the journey, and I am just so relieved and grateful. And this is going to sound really strange, but for us as a family and for me as an individual, I think I am all the stronger for having gone through what has been an incredibly, incredibly difficult year with everything that happened.
That's an understatement, honestly, to go through all of those things, your own health issue, your husband and your father. Why did you decide not to talk about it? Was it just, this is private, get on with it?
Well, not so much that, although I do think when you work in the public domain, there have to be kind of boundaries around, because being a leader, it's not actually about me. My work is about the community, and it's about others, and it's about making life better for people and doing my best in that regard. And I suppose initially, not talking about it is just giving yourself space to kind of cope with it and to process it and manage it. But then I think moments come where it's probably very healthy and helpful to talk about it, because I'm so conscious we are by no means the only family who have come through these experiences. I mean, in the course of my work, I know over the years I have met people, and incredible people, and I have just wondered, with everything that they've coped with, how have they put one foot in front of the other? But then you discover that that's what you do. And I have such a renewed and immense respect now for everybody who cares across our hospital systems, people who care for loved ones and family members in their home, week after week, year after year. That's incredible. And I think as a society, we really need to, in a much more profound way, recognise that and support that. So that's, I suppose, the big learn, I suppose, where the personal experience becomes part of your big political agenda. You know?
But this is what we hear all the time about those carers, about those nurses who are looking for some more supports and support from government.
Yeah.
Because they do not feel that they are being supported. But from your point of view, going through, like, do the other members of Sinn Féin know everything that you've been going through?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the core team around me, absolutely, and then my wider colleagues, and they've been great, and they've been extremely supportive, and they've known that I have had a lot on.
Well, the death threat as well, where someone was arrested over a death threat made against you.
That's right, and I mean, look, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, abusive things on social media, you have to kind of weather that when 9 times out of 10, but when it gets to the extent that somebody is actually threatening your life, that's a line that's been crossed, and you have to deal with it. So the Gardaí are dealing with that.
As a leader, though, given what you've gone through in the last number of months, year, your other team members have known what you've been going through. Can you be at 100%? Given that this is a really important time for your party, Sinn Féin, you were riding high in the polls, and unfortunately this has come at the worst possible time for you. Did you feel stepping aside, maybe giving the reins to somebody else for a period of time to let you deal with what you need to do and let the party cruise on? Or do you think that maybe not being at 100% has impacted the party?
No, and I mean, here's the thing, in the midst of dealing with all of that in my life as a human being, you still show up for work. You still have to get things done. And I'm not unique in that.
But there's a difference between showing up to work and being at your best.
But I would also say this to you, Tommy, right? In my strong view and in my experience, nothing qualifies you better to be an effective, brave, impactful leader than actual experiences yourself and connection with the reality of people's lives. So I would say to you that not alone has this, been a real learning experience for me. I think it has equipped me actually better to lead, better to connect, because, sometimes politics is about spin and it's about posturing, and the Dáil will come back and you see all of the scrutiny and the toing in front, and that's part of the democratic process. I'm not knocking that. But you see in the end, what politics is about really understanding people's lives and being committed to delivering things, particularly when the chips are down, for people and for families, that make their lives better, that support them. Yeah. And good leaders, strong leaders, effective leaders have had brushes personally, in my opinion, with those experiences.
Well, let's talk about some of those things. And the posturing has already started, because yesterday at the Think-In for Fine Gael, Simon Harris said it's not long ago since Mary Lou McDonald was measuring the drapes for the Taoiseach's office in relation to what's happened to ye with the polling. So the polling data, you were riding high last year, and now you're third. You're well behind what's going on. You're third place behind Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. But your polls are one thing. Now it's actually policy.
Exactly.
And it turned out that people wanted concrete policies from Sinn Féin. That's what you heard at the local elections.
Absolutely.
It's what you've heard in the polls. So let's talk about it, because it's housing. This is what is going to happen. And you plan on spending 39 billion over 5 years to deliver 300,000 houses. And that you're going to, hopefully, houses are going to cost people like 250, 300,000 euro. How are you going to do that? I got a quote for a 40 square metre on a box the other day, and it was 250 grand.
OK, so first of all, the plan that and you're right, people said to us very clearly, we want clarity.
Concrete policies.
Concrete, and we heard that loud and clear. And we have launched last week a hugely comprehensive 5-year, fully costed, fully deliverable plan. Bear in mind, this is the first time that any political party has actually done this from outside of government. But we thought it was important for exactly that point, so that people have full transparency and can see the scale of ambition and how it would be delivered.
It's huge.
300,000 is not a figure plucked from the air. 300,000 is where the experts have landed in the ESRI and on the Commission for Housing. That is what's needed for current demand and growing demand and pent-up demand. And the market and the system will have to work on all fronts. More council housing, more public housing, and this affordable housing strain that you've referred to.
Getting rid of HAP.
Well, let me deal with the affordable housing piece first. This is a scheme that we have developed for people who earn too much for council housing and who are struggling and haven't got access to buying houses on the private market. And the concept of it is that the person who purchases the home at an affordable price from 250 grand upwards, you pay the price of construction. The state underwrites the cost of the land, of servicing, and development fees are waived. That's how you make the cost affordable. We need a scheme like this. It's not going to be for everybody, but for that particular cohort who are locked out, a scheme like this is absolutely necessary and doable. On HAP, or on the first-time buyers issue that you raised, actually, we believe, and the data shows, that the government schemes haven't actually solved the problem. A new build home now is 100 grand more expensive than it was 4 years ago. So what we are saying is we accept that some people who are looking to buy their home now have baked in those figures and they're relying on it.
But you're in power in the north and they need...
Well, now, hang on, so we are going to phase that scheme out over 5 years. For first-time buyers, we are also offering a stamp duty exemption on your first home up to the value of 450,000 grand. So actually first-time buyers will be better off in the immediate term with Sinn Féin and infinitely better off over the longer trajectory.
But you're in power in the north and they need 6,700 houses a year, and it looks like social housing. There's been 700 houses. It could be as low as 400 houses this year.
And here's the distinction.
But it hasn't shown in the north that this has worked.
And here's the distinction. In the north, the Assembly and the Executive do not have the tax-raising powers that we have here. You see, the Executive in the north is reliant on whoever is in government in number 10 and the British Exchequer for funding. And
but you're doing private financing for housing up in the north.
But let me finish the point out. And it is accepted by all parties in the north that that place has been underfunded for decades. So there is a financial issue there. In terms of private funding, there's different types of private funding.
Yeah.
So you need what you need. What we don't need are vulture funds, cuckoo funds that don't build things here, but that come in and swipe up properties from under the noses of families and first-time buyers.
Let's go on to the front of the Irish Independent this morning. Fine Gael, at their thinking, asylum seekers are having to pay to get access to state support. Is this something that you would agree with?
Well, what I understand from that story is there is this issue of things that are means tested. Services and access to services that are means tested. And I take a very simple view, and it's based on just fairness. If access to something is means tested, well, then it has to be means tested for everybody. I think that's only fair.
But people who are in asylum who would be given accommodation and medical provision after 6 months who are working would have to pay.
Well, I mean, but the means test would decide at what level their income would be.
Is it fair, though? Do you agree?
Well,
Do you think that's fair?
We can argue the toss over what levels means, you know, what the means test level, income level ought to be.
Yeah.
But I think it is.
What do you think it would be?
But I think it is fair if there is a means test for a medical card for the general citizenry. Then if somebody, a newcomer to the country, is working, and if they earn in excess of that, I think the means test ought to be applied.
Are you worried?
I think that's a matter of fairness, actually.
Are you worried about the far right splitting your vote, the general election? Are you expecting it to be called, we think, OK, is it this
November
or March?
November.
You think it's November?
I think it's going to be an autumn election, yes.
And
that's what we're preparing for.
Do you think they're going to split your vote?
Look, I think the concern around the very small number of toxic agitators who don't really care about communities, who don't really care about the welfare of particularly communities that are struggling, but who are opportunistically banging the drum and attacking Sinn Féin in particular.
They're connecting with
I think
people.
they need to be faced down. Well, I mean, our job, therefore, is to connect, reconnect, set out our stall. We've discussed the housing crisis. Yeah. I just want you to know this, and your viewers to know this. None of those who have shouted the loudest and who have behaved very often this very destructive and divisive way, none of them have answers to the housing crisis. None of them have answers in terms of the healthcare system. And I actually trust Irish people. You see, I think the government made a mess of the whole immigration thing. I think they left community out of the equation. I think they have needlessly caused concern, division. I was listening to...
But to be fair, I think your indecision didn't help matters on this, because you were, as they say, flip-flopping between your policies on this as well.
I will accept... Well, Tommy, I will accept that we needed to bring clarity to bear.
You weren't clear with it.
I don't accept, however...
Which is opposition is what you needed.
I don't accept, however, that the fundamental approach that we take, which is absolutely about respect, dignity and the human rights of people on one hand, but also the rights of community to be heard, to be listened to, and very reasonable questions that arise to be answered.
Absolutely reasonable. Yeah.
Those are the two pillars. Thornton Hall is going ahead. I heard people on the media, local people from Ashburn, from North County Dublin, asking the most reasonable questions.
Of what's going on.
They've had no answers.
And they have to be able to do that.
They need answers, yeah.
Listen, thank you so much for coming in, because I know you've got a lot going on, and we do wish Martin all the best. He's in hospital today. Thank you so much. Leader of Sinn Féin, Mary Lou McDonald. Thanks so much. Lots more still to come.